Hi, I'm Wanda with Jimmy Branch Homestead, and today I'm going to be canning tomatoes. So most of them I'm going to use as diced tomatoes because that's just what I like to use a lot of, along with my tomato sauce, which I hope to do on another day. But today we're going to be canning whole tomatoes and diced tomatoes. So I do have my canner heating up. I did shut it off. I don't want it to come to a full boil because my jars are not going to be completely hot. So I just wanted it medium hot in the canner. I have another pot here, my stock pot, and it is a little over half full of water, and I have that heating up on high. And we're going to use this water to plunge the tomatoes into. So over here I have a large bowl, about 32 cups of tomatoes, and these have already been washed, cored, and any bad spots cut out of them. So we had a lot of bad weather after really extremely hot weather, and so I had a lot of my tomatoes split. So I cut the splits out that were just clean splits and fed those to the pigs. And any rotten spots, I'm just going to throw out in the compost. So as soon as the water is boiling, we'll be ready to start. Okay, my water is boiling to a full rolling boil, so I'm just going to set the lid aside. Oops, should have ripped it off a little more. And then we're going to work in very small batches. So I'm just going to put a few tomatoes in at a time, one at a time. And I'm using a little bit of a variety of tomatoes today. So I have Amish paste, I have Jet Stars that are a favorite eating kind, and I have pink cherry tomatoes. So that's okay. I can mix them all together. It won't hurt anything. Okay, so I'm not going to just throw them in. I'm going to set them in with the spoon. And we're going to work in very small batches. And what I'm doing through this process is getting the skins to slip. So then I can just watch really close. And as I see the skin starting to slip, then I pull the tomato out. See how that's kind of wrinkled? Over here, you can probably see it better. It's starting to slip. And then I'm going to put these immediately in cold water in my sink. And that just helps to slip the skins. See, this one just slipped almost completely out. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's get some more going. We're just going to keep repeating the process here. In about 4 to 6 at a time, something that I can manage and, like I said, see as the skins are slipping. I did put more in this time just because they're so small, the cherry tomatoes. Although for cherry tomatoes, these are pretty big. They're a good inch to inch and a half across. If your water cools down enough that it's no longer boiling, stop for a few minutes and crank up the heat. I just left this on high, and so far it's still boiling. Doesn't take long at all, just a few seconds for them to start slipping. Some of them are a little tougher and take a little longer, but not long still. Okay, that completes that process for heating and blanching each of the tomatoes. So we're going to shut this water off and just let it cool. I'm going to kind of shove it to the back of the burner, out of the way. Okay, so we're going to come back over to the sink now. And we're just going to slip these tomatoes. Sometimes you'll end up with a spot that kind of sticks more, so you just need to maybe just kind of slightly cut that off. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to do whole tomatoes. And we're not going to be adding any water to these tomatoes. They're going to have only their own juice. So for that purpose, excuse me, I'm going to mix the Amish paste and the Jet Stars and the cherry tomatoes so they'll have enough juice. So basically, as we're packing them in there, we're going to smash them down and they make their own juice. See? That's all we're going to do. And we're going to fill it to about 1/2 inch from the top. If you want to cut the tomatoes in half, you can, but it's not required. And a lot of times I use these like this for soups, or more often for tomato sauce, and just break them up with a spoon as I'm cooking it. One more here. Get this to about where it should be. Okay. Okay, so we're going to clean up the rim a little bit here. We want to make sure there's no debris there. And so I just wiped the tomato juice off first because I knew there was tomato juice on it. Okay, so then we're going to debubble. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little bubble down in here. Put it down in the middle a couple times. Okay, looks pretty good. And then I'm just going to take a paper towel with a little bit, oops, not that much, of vinegar, and just go around the rim to really make sure that the rim is nice and clean and nothing will prohibit the seal. Okay, now I'm going to dice up tomatoes and get them in the other jars. this to help me keep more in the bowl. I mean the jar. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of the rest of these until we have enough for a full canner load, which my water bath canner holds 8 pints. Okay, so I have the 8 pints filled. The last ones I just need to go back and debubble. Check the measurement. Oops, there we go. That's fine. Okay, so those are good. Now I'm going to go back and add the 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid to each jar. And it will get mixed through as it boils in the canner. Now the 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Again, this is optional. and then clean the rims. And then new lids. Let's see, I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One thing about these lids, they're really thick, I noticed. And so when they pop, they make a lot of noise. You really hear them. Remember to inspect your rings to make sure they're not rusty. Mine are just discolored a little bit from the vinegar in the water. And then I'm going to put a splash of vinegar, just a little bit, in my canner. Oops. And that just helps. We have very hard water, so it keeps my jars from turning white. Okay. So I just need to load the jars into the tray. Mix them down into the water. And I don't have quite an inch over them, so I need to add some more hot water. Okay, so now I need to bring the canner up to a full rolling boil and then process it for 85 minutes. So the timer will not start till it comes to the full rolling boil. And let me put the lid. Oh, I hit it on the other counter. I find this really interesting because I found one of my old canning books from when I was in high school and a young adult. And the last copyright on this is 1972. And the processing time in a water bath canner for pints is 35 to 45 minutes, and for quarts is 45 to 55 minutes. Oh, excuse me. 35 minutes for pints, 45 minutes for quarts. And that is the timetables that we used when I was growing up and when I learned to can with my mother. The new fall canning book gives the timetable of 85 minutes, so an hour and 25 minutes. And I just don't understand how over the years that can change so much. But today we're going to do the safe canning method, the approved canning method, so that you can learn how to can tomatoes. Okay, so the timer just went off a few minutes ago, and I happened to be outside, so my husband shut the burner off like I asked him to. And so it was able to sit undisturbed in the canner for 5 minutes with the burner off. And then when I came in, I went ahead and took the jars out. So here are the 8 pints that I canned, and I have 2 more to go in. So I have the the tall stock pot with a rack in the bottom that I'm going to process those last 2 jars. So if you're enjoying this type of video, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and share our videos. It's the best way that can help us to grow our homestead. Thank you so much for watching, and God bless.